So who won the trade? The Seattle Seahawks or the Las Vegas Raiders? As of today, I would say the Seattle Seahawks won the trade, but they could quickly become big time losers depending on how they address the QB position. Let me explain why. Now, I love them moving off of Geno Smith because before this trade took place, there were contract talks supposedly between Geno and the Seahawks. And if they got a deal done there, and just in general, paying Geno Smith 45 mil a year is insane. If this was 3 years ago and he's coming off of that 2022 year, fair play. Give him a big contract, you know what I mean? But coming off the year he just had, he was awful a year ago, man. Completely awful. If the Seahawks would have got competent quarterback play, they easily would have been a playoff team. And once you get into the playoffs, anything could happen. So definitely a good move of moving off of Geno Smith, in my opinion. But the caveat to that is, as of right now, there are reports of the Seahawks being interested in signing Sam Darnold. Now, Seahawks fans, let me know in the comments below how you feel about the Seahawks potentially signing Sam Darnold. If they do go down that road, it's not going to be a cheap contract, and it's probably going to be at least for 3 or 4 years. And Sam Darnold to the Seahawks, listen, man, I don't like it. I just don't like it. He's had one good year, and he's now going to sign a massive contract outside of Minnesota. I just think it's a buyer beware, 100%. And I would just not do it if I'm the Seahawks. This team, this roster is very legit. They have pieces on that defense. They have JSN. They have 2 good RBs. We'll see what they do with DK Metcalf. It's a loaded team. I just don't think Sam Darnold is really the guy to take them over the top, to take them to an NFC Championship game, and to ultimately play in a Super Bowl. I could be wrong, but I just don't see it, man. He's had one good year in the NFL, and now the Seahawks are reportedly open to signing him to a massive contract. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So that's what I mean. As of right now, the Seahawks won the trade in my opinion, but if they go out and sign Sam Darnold, then I think the Raiders won the trade. But that's just me. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me. Now, if I'm John Schneider, here's what I do instead. In a perfect world, they acquire the number 1 overall draft pick and draft Cam Ward. Or they move up and draft Shedeur Sanders, or they get Jackson Dart. In a perfect world, I would go down one of those 3 options. If you go with Shedeur or Jackson Dart, that means you have to sign a bridge quarterback. I've been saying this for a couple years now. I think Justin Fields would work pretty well with the Seahawks offense. As a QB, a thrower of the ball, he obviously has his struggles, no doubt. But again, to pair him with Kenneth Walker, to Zach Charbonnet, Justin Fields is an elite ball carrier. I really think he could just bring a different element to that offense, and I just think it would be a good fit. And that's the thing. If it's not, you have Shedeur on the bench for a whole year. You have Jackson Dart on the bench for a full year. I think all QBs should start going back to being on the bench for at least a year or 2. Because, I don't know, man. I just feel like besides this draft class we just had, a lot of QBs that come into the league flame out pretty early and they just can't recover. Plus, this draft class is a lot weaker than the previous one. So to expect Shedeur Sanders to be your day 1 starter is just a disaster waiting to happen. But if you're a DK Metcalf fan and you want him to stay in Seattle, he actually might now. You know, we don't know the exact details for sure, but I would imagine he wasn't completely happy playing with Geno Smith. So maybe he might change his tune a little bit, might be open to playing on the last year of his contract in Seattle. You never know. Definitely something to keep an eye on. It changes things for sure. Plus, the price the Seahawks are asking for DK is really, really steep. I don't think he'll get traded now, but we'll have to find out. Now, for the Raiders, apparently they're still interested in drafting a quarterback, which is great, great news. But as far as Geno Smith goes, okay, well, it's an upgrade over what their QB room has been the past couple years. Geno Smith is definitely better than Gardner Minshew. He's better than Aiden O'Connell, and he's better than Desmond Ridder. So they definitely upgraded for sure. But if you expect Geno Smith to come in there and to get the Raiders to the playoffs, or to even compete in that playoff bubble sort of tier, I just don't think that's realistic. And I know those aren't really the expectations for the Raiders in 2025 to make the playoffs, but I just don't think it's going to look all that great. Like I mentioned, Geno Smith had a pretty awful year, and he's going to a worse offense. I know they have Brock Bowers there, but as of today, they don't really have much else there. And a big reason why the Raiders made this move is because Pete Carroll and his relationship with Geno. So we'll see how it all works out. I mean, Chip Kelly is the OC. Who knows? Maybe Pete Carroll can get the best out of Geno Smith with Chip Kelly. You know, back in 2022, Pete Carroll was still the head coach, and that was his only great year in the NFL. So if you want to be super optimistic, you never know. Maybe we could see shades of 2022 Geno this upcoming year. It's possible. It's definitely possible. But no matter how you feel about Geno Smith, he is a bridge quarterback, and he might be an expensive bridge quarterback. Apparently they might sign him to a little extension worth 45 mil a year. So I don't know how it's going to play out, but regardless, he's a bridge quarterback, and the Raiders are looking to draft a quarterback. Now, it's probably going to be Shador or Jackson Dart, unless the Raiders move up in the draft and acquire the first overall draft pick. So, if it's Jackson Dart, if it's Shador, I hope either one of them sits for a full year, because I don't think those guys should start their first year in the NFL. And I think that'd be a good plan. If the Raiders can actually execute that, have Geno Smith be the starter in 2025 all the way through, and you have Jackson Dart on the bench, or you have Shador Sanders on the bench. I love that. I love that move. If the Raiders can do that, then I think they won the trade. But we'll have to see how it all plays out, man. Definitely a lot of moving pieces here. So the offseason is just getting started. A lot of people said this was like a surprising trade. In my opinion, it wasn't. There were some rumors of the Seahawks moving on from Geno Smith, and I don't know. I'm just kind of surprised that people were surprised by this trade, but you let me know if you were shocked by this trade or not. Just real quick, apparently the Seahawks offered Geno Smith DK for Max Crosby. The Raiders declined that offer, and very smartly so. I feel like that is not a fair trade offer at all. But definitely a fun question. Do you think that would have been a fair trade, and would you have accepted it? Now, if they would have thrown DK, Geno, and Witherspoon, then I would have been like, okay, I think we might have something here. Or maybe DK, Geno, and like a second-round draft pick, then I'd be like, okay, let me think about it. But definitely a good move for the Raiders to not take on that trade. But yeah, man, a great start to the NFL offseason, and hopefully it gets more wild and more crazy. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you made this far, please subscribe and like the video. It'd help out your boy a ton. That's all I got for right now. Peace.